Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Colonel Conrad Walsh, who is the commanding officer of the Sydney University Regiment. Founded on the 17th of November 1900, today marks the 125th anniversary of the formation of the Sydney University Regiment. Tonight, we will hear the story of Lieutenant Muir Paul Smith, who was a member of that regiment. We warmly welcome members of the Sydney University Regiment and their families who are in attendance today. We also welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Xavier College, Burke Hall, visiting from Kew, Victoria, and students on behalf of Sacred Heart College, visiting from Newtown, Tasmania. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lieutenant Muir Paul Smith. Muir Smith was born in Sydney on the 30th of May 1890, the first of 6 children born to Walter and Grace Ann Smith. Muir's father was a highly regarded engineer with Sydney's Public Works Department. It is believed he inspired his son's love of signals and early wireless transmission technology. The family lived in North Sydney, where Muir attended Sydney Church of England Grammar School, gaining both the junior and senior scholarships. Entering Sydney University in 1906 to study medicine, his coursework earned him honours each year of his studies. On the 28th of April 1908, Walter was killed in an accidental fall from the Piermont Bridge, leaving Grace to rear the children alone. Muir joined the Sydney University Scouts and was soon making. In 1910, he played an instrumental part in the first successful long-distance military voice radio transmission in Australia. While at university, Muir passed military courses on topography and military engineering and gained his Assistant Signals Instructor's certificate. Muir Smith graduated with second-class honours in 1911 and became a resident medical officer at the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital at Camperdown, before becoming a surgical registrar. In 1913, he went into partnership with another doctor and returned to Sydney University's medical school to lecture part-time anatomy. He still found time to continue his work with the Sydney University Scouts Signals section, and in 1914 passed a British Army tactics course. With the outbreak of war in August, Smith was accepted for a commission as a second lieutenant in the 4th Battalion. Despite being a qualified doctor, he accepted the role of battalion signals officer. On the 20th of October, the 4th Battalion embarked from Sydney aboard the transport ship Euripides, part of the first convoy of 48 ships that left Australia and New Zealand. Originally bound for England, the convoy was redirected to Egypt when it was learnt that conditions in England were unsuitable. Smith was promoted to lieutenant in February 1915, but by the following month appeared to be rethinking his choice of becoming a signals officer. In a letter to a comrade in Australia, he wrote, "Our training is finished. In fact, we have done so much training that we are stale. The rumour is that we are going into action in an expedition of some sort. I now agree that your advice was right. I should have joined the Medical Corps." The 4th Battalion was among the 2nd and 3rd waves to come ashore at Gallipoli on the 25th of April 1915. Smith was among the officers and men sent ashore in the 2nd wave and was soon in action. The next morning, Smith was shot in the leg and was evacuated to the battalion's regimental aid post. But on hearing that an Ottoman counterattack was threatening the battalion's line, he gathered other men and led them back to the firing line. Lieutenant Arthur Edwards of the 4th Battalion later recalled, "I was on the extreme right of the whole line, and Smith came up with some men he'd collected. He asked me where more men were wanted. I told him to put them on my right and to drop them back a bit as we were being enfiladed by 2 machine guns which we couldn't locate. This was the last time I saw him. And even then, he had a bad wound just above the knee. He was hit a few minutes afterwards and died in the arms of one of my men. A machine gun had got him all over the place." Though not serving as a doctor, it is believed that Smith was the first Australian doctor to be killed at Gallipoli. He was certainly the first member of the Sydney University Scouts to be killed there. For his actions during the landing and his courage and leadership, Smith was posthumously mentioned in dispatches. Today, Smith is commemorated on the Lone Pine Memorial to the missing. He was 24 years old. Smith's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. Now we remember Lieutenant Muir Paul Smith, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.